Are you confused by all the headlines about Israel and Iran? Do you find yourself getting completely different stories about the same events? You're not alone. This conflict has been brewing for decades, and both sides have very different views on what's happening and why. Let me break this down into simple terms, showing you exactly what each side believes and why they believe it. Just a few days ago, Israel launched what they called Operation Rising Lion against Iran's nuclear facilities. Iran responded by firing missiles at Tel Aviv, injuring over 30 people. This isn't just another news story. This is a major escalation in a conflict that's been simmering for almost 50 years. But here's what's important. Both sides see themselves as the victim. Both sides believe they're fighting for their survival. Let me show you how each side sees this situation. Israel's side of the story. From Israel's perspective, this conflict is about survival, pure and simple. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying for years that Iran wants to wipe Israel off the map. Here's what Israelis believe. 1. The nuclear threat. Israel claims Iran has enough enriched uranium to build 9 nuclear weapons. They say Iran could have its first nuclear bomb within just a few months. For a country the size of New Jersey surrounded by enemies, this feels like a death sentence. 2. The proxy war. Israel points out that Iran funds and arms groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, all of which have attacked Israeli civilians. They see Iran as the puppet master behind decades of terrorism against their people. 3. Self-defense. When Israel struck Iran's nuclear facilities, they called it a preemptive strike to prevent an imminent and existential threat. They argue they had no choice but to act before Iran could complete its nuclear weapons program. When Iranian leaders talk about destroying Israel, many Israelis take those threats very seriously. Iran's side of the story. From Iran's perspective, this conflict looks completely different. Iranians see themselves as the victims of Israeli aggression and American imperialism. Here's how they view the situation. 1. The right to nuclear technology. Iran insists its nuclear program is entirely peaceful and for energy purposes. They point out that other countries, including Israel, have nuclear weapons, so why shouldn't they have the right to nuclear technology? 2. Israeli aggression. Iran argues that Israel has been attacking Iranian facilities, assassinating Iranian scientists, and conducting cyber warfare against them for years. They see the recent strikes as just the latest example of Israeli aggression. 3. Supporting the oppressed. Iran frames its support for Palestinian groups and Hezbollah as helping oppressed people fight against occupation. They see Israel as an occupying force that has displaced Palestinians from their land. 4. Regional balance. From Iran's view, Israel has overwhelming military superiority backed by the United States. They argue that supporting regional allies is their only way to balance against this power. This conflict didn't start yesterday. It goes back to 1979 when Iran's government changed completely. Before 1979, Iran and Israel were actually allies. But when Islamic revolutionaries took power in Iran, everything changed. The new Iranian government declared Israel an enemy of Islam and the little Satan, with America being the great Satan. They closed Israel's embassy and gave it to Palestinian representatives. Since then, these two countries have been fighting what experts call a proxy war. They don't usually attack each other directly, but they support opposite sides in conflicts across the Middle East. The nuclear timeline that matters. 1967. Iran starts its first nuclear reactor with American help. 2002. The world discovers Iran has secret nuclear facilities. 2015. Iran signs a deal to limit its nuclear program in exchange for reduced sanctions. 2018. President Trump pulls America out of that deal. 2025. Iran now has enough enriched uranium for multiple weapons, leading to Israel's recent strikes. You know, watching these global events unfold really makes you think about where to put your money for safety and growth. I've actually created comprehensive stock research reports based on analysis I personally trust and rely on. The research is straightforward and cuts through all the market noise, just like we're cutting through the political noise in this video. What makes these reports special is that they represent my actual investment strategy. Every stock I recommend is one I've personally researched, vetted, and purchased for my own portfolio. The bundle includes detailed analysis on why I selected each stock and what fundamentals convinced me they're positioned for growth. When geopolitical tensions rise and markets get volatile, having a curated list of stocks you actually believe in makes all the difference. I'll put a link in the description if you want to access the same research reports I created and use for my own investments. Why both sides feel justified. Here's the thing that makes this conflict so complicated. Both sides have legitimate fears. Israel's fears are real. They're a small country surrounded by enemies. some of whom have openly called for their destruction. The Holocaust is still in living memory for many Israelis, making existential threats feel very real. Iran's fears are also real. They see themselves surrounded by American military bases and facing constant threats from Israel. They watch other countries get invaded and think nuclear weapons might be their only protection. What happens next? Nobody knows for sure, but here are the possibilities experts are discussing. 1. Escalation. This could turn into a bigger war involving the United States and other countries. 2. Negotiation. President Trump has urged Iran to make a deal before it's too late. Some think this crisis might force both sides to the negotiating table. 3. Regional transformation. Some experts believe this could reshape the entire Middle East, potentially weakening Iran's influence and strengthening ties between Israel and Arab countries. Both Israel and Iran believe they're fighting for their survival. Whether you lean more toward Israel's perspective or Iran's perspective, the key is understanding why millions of people on both sides feel the way they do. The decisions made in the coming weeks could determine whether this escalates into a larger war or finds a path toward peace. Either way, understanding both sides helps us all make sense of what's happening in this crucial part of the world. What do you think? Does understanding both perspectives change how you see this conflict? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more balanced analysis of complex world events.